has a way of softening the world. Edges blur, sounds feel distant, and the ordinary routines of the day finally release their grip. Lights go off one by one, doors are checked, locks are turned, and the mind accepts a quiet agreement that nothing more is required. This is the moment people believe they are safest, not because danger is gone, but because awareness has faded. Sleep depends on that belief. Without it, rest becomes impossible. What makes nighttime so effective at unsettling the human mind is not darkness itself, but the way it changes interpretation. A sound that would be ignored at noon suddenly demands attention at midnight. A shadow that means nothing during the day becomes deliberate when seen in the corner of a darkened room. Familiar spaces, places defined by routine and control, begin to feel subtly altered, as if they no longer belong entirely to the people inside them. Comfort depends on predictability, and night quietly removes it. The footage in this section does not begin in abandoned buildings or remote locations. It begins in homes, bedrooms, living rooms, always passed through every day without thought. These are spaces built for rest and safety, places where the mind lowers its guard automatically. It is precisely why they are effective settings for fear. When something feels wrong here, there is nowhere else to retreat. The threat does not feel external, it feels embedded. In the first recording, nothing appears unusual at first. A static camera watches a small room illuminated by the faint glow of a hallway light. The scene is quiet, almost reassuring in its stillness. Minutes pass without incident, long enough for the viewer to relax, to assume the clip will end without consequence. Then something changes. Not dramatically, not violently. A door shifts, barely perceptible, as if responding to pressure that cannot be seen. There's no sudden movement, no clear force, only a deviation from how the room is supposed to behave. What makes moments like this disturbing is not what happens, but how restrained it is. The movement is small enough to question, large enough to notice. The mind searches for explanations automatically, cycling through possibilities in an effort to restore order. Air pressure, a loose hinge, gravity. But the timing is wrong. The room has been still for too long. The motion arrives without warning, without cause, and without repetition. It happens once, and then the space returns to silence as if nothing occurred. In another clip, a hallway camera captures a familiar scene. Family photos line the walls. A carpet runner leads toward a closed bedroom door. Camera's night vision casts everything in pale, artificial tones, flattening depth and exaggerating distance. For several minutes, nothing moves. Then, without any visible source, a sound registers on the recording. Not loud enough to identify, not quiet enough to dismiss. It resembles movement, but not footsteps, or like pressure shifting against the structure itself. The unsettling detail here is not the sound alone, but its placement. It comes from inside the house, not outside, from a location that should already be accounted for. There is no open window, no pets moving through a frame, no explanation that fits cleanly. Camera continues recording, indifferent and unblinking, while the house settles back into stillness. The implication lingers longer than the noise ever did. As these recordings progress, a pattern begins to form. The disturbances do not occur randomly. They appear during moments of reduced awareness. Late hours, early mornings, times when the people inside are either asleep or close to it. This timing matters. It suggests vulnerability, not coincidence. Whether intentional or not, the effect is the same. The night becomes a participant rather than a backdrop. One video captures a bedroom from a corner angle, the camera positioned to monitor a sleeping child. The room is dim, illuminated only by a night light near the floor. The child remains still, breathing slow and steady. For a long time, nothing interrupts the scene. Then something shifts near the doorway. Not an entry, not a clear shape, just a darkening where light should be constant. The change is subtle, gradual, as if the room itself is adjusting. What follows is not a sudden intrusion, but a sustained presence. The darkness remains fixed in place, refusing to behave like a shadow should. It does not flicker. It does not respond to movement. It simply occupies space. Camera records everything faithfully, offering no commentary, no emphasis. The effect is unsettling precisely because nothing else happens. The moment is allowed to exist without escalation, forcing the viewer to sit with it. These are not isolated examples. Across multiple recordings, the same conditions repeat. Familiar settings, late hours, minimal activity, and then a deviation so small it feels almost accidental. Almost that uncertainty is where fear takes root. When something is clearly threatening, the body reacts decisively. When something is ambiguous, the mind remains trapped, endlessly evaluating possibilities without resolution. As the footage continues, the disturbances begin to feel less passive. In one clip, a living room camera records furniture ranged neatly against the walls. The house is quiet. The timestamp confirms the early morning hours. Without warning, an object shifts slightly across a flat surface. Not enough to fall, not enough to draw immediate attention, enough to be noticed only when reviewed later. The movement does not repeat. There is no visible cause. This detail matters because it suggests awareness of observation. The movement occurs within the camera's field of view, but remains restrained as if deliberately avoiding escalation. It does not announce itself. It reveals itself only after the fact. This transforms the footage from accidental recording into something more personal, something that feels observed rather than random. The psychological effect of this shift cannot be overstated. When disturbances feel environmental, they can be dismissed as chance. When they feel responsive, even subtly, the sense of safety erodes quickly. The idea that something might be present is less disturbing than the idea that it might be waiting, that it might choose when and how to be noticed. Throughout these recordings, the night itself becomes an accomplice. Darkness conceals without fully hiding. Silence amplifies the smallest deviation. The absence of activity sharpens attention, making every sound and movement feel intentional. This is not chaos. It is restraint, and restraint implies control. By the time the final clip in this section appears, the viewer's expectations have shifted. The question is no longer whether something will happen, but how subtle it will be. In the last recording, a camera faces a narrow stairwell leading down into darkness. The light at the top remains on, casting long shadows along the walls. For several minutes, nothing moves. Then one shadow stretches slightly beyond where it should. The change is minimal, almost imperceptible, but wrong in a way that cannot be ignored. There is no follow-up, no reveal, no confirmation. The shadow remains altered until the clip ends. That is enough. The footage does not need to escalate further. The implication has already taken hold. Familiar spaces have proven unreliable. Night has proven active, and the sense of safety that once came with routine has been quietly dismantled. What these recordings demonstrate is not overt danger, but compromised certainty. They show how easily comfort can be disrupted when the environment stops behaving predictably. Sleep depends on trust, and once that trust is broken, rest becomes a risk rather than a relief. By the time this section ends, the viewer understands something fundamental has shifted. The night is no longer empty, it is attentive.